The scorching sun beat down on the Naval Special Warfare Training Compound in Coronado, California. Sweat dripped from the faces of 12 elite Navy SEALs as they completed their morning physical training. Among them stood Marcus Thompson, a battle-hardened commander with 20 years of service under his belt. His weathered face told stories of countless missions in the most dangerous corners of the world. Thompson's team respected him deeply. He had led them through successful operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. His tactical brilliance had saved their lives more times than they could count. But there was something about their commander that had always puzzled them, something they often joked about during their downtime. On Thompson's left forearm was a tattoo that seemed completely out of place for such a serious military man. It appeared to be a cartoon-like drawing of a smiling dolphin wearing a tiny sailor's hat, surrounded by what looked like children's crayon marks forming the words, "Best Daddy Ever," in rainbow colors. The artwork was so childish and innocent that it stood in stark contrast to the man's intimidating presence and military bearing. Petty Officer Jake Rodriguez was the first to notice the tattoo during their initial team formation 6 months ago. Jake, a sniper with an eye for detail, couldn't help but chuckle when he spotted the colorful drawing during a training exercise where they had rolled up their sleeves. Soon, the entire team knew about their commander's unusual body art. The team consisted of some of the military's finest warriors. Besides Jake, there was Danny Park, a demolitions expert from San Francisco who could disarm any explosive device blindfolded. Tommy Williams, a communications specialist from Texas, could hack into enemy networks faster than most computer programmers. Mike Chen, a medic from Seattle, had saved more lives in combat than any field doctor. And finally, there was Alex Cooper, a weapons specialist from Chicago who could handle any firearm ever manufactured. During their breaks, the team would sometimes make light-hearted comments about Thompson's tattoo. Jake would joke that their tough commander had a secret soft spot for marine life. Danny would laugh and say the tattoo looked like his 6-year-old niece had drawn it. Tommy would tease that maybe Thompson had lost a bet with his children. Thompson never seemed bothered by their jokes. In fact, he would often smile mysteriously whenever the tattoo came up in conversation. He never explained its meaning or told the story behind it. When directly asked, he would simply say, "Some things are better left as mysteries," and change the subject. This only made the team more curious and led to even more speculation about the innocent-looking artwork. The team had completed numerous successful missions together. They had rescued hostages from terrorist compounds, gathered intelligence from enemy territories, and eliminated high-value targets with surgical precision. Throughout all these dangerous operations, Thompson's leadership had been flawless. His decision-making under pressure was legendary, and his ability to adapt to changing situations had made him one of the most respected commanders in naval special warfare. One particular mission in Somalia had cemented the team's trust in Thompson. They had been tasked with infiltrating a terrorist stronghold to rescue 3 American aid workers. The intelligence was faulty, and they walked into a trap with enemy fighters surrounding them from all sides. Thompson's quick thinking and tactical genius had turned a potential disaster into a successful rescue operation. Not a single team member was injured, and all 3 hostages were safely extracted. After that mission, Jake had jokingly suggested they should all get matching dolphin tattoos to honor their commander. The team laughed, but they all agreed that Thompson's quirky tattoo had somehow become their lucky charm. They started calling themselves the Dolphin Squad as a playful nickname, though they never used it in official communications. The mystery of the tattoo became part of the team's culture. New members would inevitably notice it and ask questions, only to be told by the veterans that it was an unsolved puzzle. Some theorized it was a tribute to Thompson's daughter. Others thought it might be connected to a previous mission involving naval operations. A few believed it was simply a reminder of his early days as a young sailor with questionable artistic taste. Thompson's personal life was as private as his tattoo's meaning. The team knew he was married to a woman named Sarah and had 2 children, but he rarely spoke about his family during work hours. He kept his professional and personal lives completely separate, which was common among special operations personnel. The only glimpse they got into his family life was through the occasional photo he carried in his wallet, showing him with a blonde woman and 2 young children at what appeared to be a beach vacation. The commander's office was as organized and professional as the man himself. Military commendations covered one wall, including the Navy Cross, Silver Star, and multiple Bronze Stars. His desk held only the essentials: secure communication devices, mission files, and a single framed photo of his family. There was nothing in his workspace that would give any clue about the meaning behind his unusual tattoo. Training exercises continued throughout the summer. The team practiced close-quarters combat, maritime operations, desert survival, and urban warfare. Thompson pushed them harder than ever before, though he never explained why their training had intensified. Unknown to the team, intelligence reports were flowing into the Pentagon about a brewing crisis in Eastern Europe that would soon require their expertise. During one particularly grueling training session in the Nevada desert, the team was practicing infiltration techniques when a sandstorm suddenly appeared on the horizon. Most instructors would have called off the exercise for safety reasons, but Thompson saw it as an opportunity for realistic training. He led his team through the blinding sand and wind, using only basic navigation skills to reach their objective. As they took shelter in a rocky outcropping to wait out the storm, the team huddled together for warmth. The wind was howling so loudly they had to shout to be heard. In the dim light filtering through the swirling sand, Jake noticed Thompson unconsciously rubbing his tattooed forearm. It was a gesture he had seen before during moments of deep concentration or stress. "Commander," Jake shouted over the wind, "does that tattoo mean something special to you?" Thompson looked down at his arm, then back at his team. For a moment, it seemed like he might finally reveal the secret. But then he just smiled and said, "Everything means something to someone, Rodriguez. The question is whether that someone is willing to share the meaning." The sandstorm passed after 2 hours, and they completed their training exercise successfully. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that there was much more to their commander's mysterious tattoo than anyone realized. The way Thompson had touched it during the storm seemed almost like a ritual, as if he was drawing strength or comfort from the simple cartoon drawing. Back at the base, the team noticed that Thompson seemed different after the desert training. He appeared more focused, more intense, as if he was preparing for something significant. His briefings became more detailed, his critiques of their performance more precise. He started requiring additional training sessions in languages they had never needed before, including Russian and Ukrainian. The final clue that something major was coming happened during a routine equipment inspection. Thompson was examining their gear more thoroughly than usual, paying special attention to cold weather clothing and specialized communication devices. When Mike asked about the extra winter equipment, Thompson simply said they needed to be prepared for any environment. That evening, as the team relaxed in their quarters, they discussed their observations. Everyone agreed that Thompson was preparing them for a mission unlike any they had undertaken before. The intensity of his recent training regimens suggested it would be extremely dangerous and likely take place in a hostile environment. Danny mentioned that he had overheard Thompson on a secure phone call earlier that day, speaking in hushed tones about extraction points and diplomatic complications. Tommy had noticed increased classified message traffic flowing through their communication center. Alex had seen additional weapons being delivered to their armory, including specialized equipment he had never seen before. As they speculated about the upcoming mission, Jake found himself thinking once again about Thompson's tattoo. Something told him that the innocent-looking dolphin drawing would somehow be connected to whatever dangerous operation lay ahead. He had learned to trust his instincts over the years, and those instincts were telling him that their commander's mysterious body art was far more significant than any of them had ever imagined. The next morning brought the news they had been expecting. Thompson called the team together for a mission briefing that would change everything they thought they knew about their commander and his seemingly childish tattoo. The operation they were about to undertake would test not only their combat skills, but also their ability to trust in things they didn't understand. As they gathered in the secure briefing room, Thompson rolled up his sleeves as he always did before major announcements. The cartoon dolphin seemed to smile up at them from his forearm, keeping it secret for just a little while longer. Soon, everything would become clear, and the team would realize that sometimes the most important truths are hidden in the most unlikely places. The secure briefing room fell silent as Admiral Patricia Hayes entered with a folder marked, "Top Secret, Eyes Only." Thompson stood at attention, followed immediately by his team. The Admiral's presence at their base meant only one thing. This mission was of the highest importance and maximum danger. "Gentlemen," Admiral Hayes began, "what I'm about to tell you cannot leave this room. 3 days ago, our intelligence services discovered that a group of international arms dealers has acquired a stolen nuclear device from a decommissioned Soviet submarine. The device is currently being held in a heavily fortified compound in the mountains of eastern Ukraine." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Nuclear terrorism was every military professional's worst nightmare. The Admiral continued her briefing, explaining that the arms dealers plan to auction the device to the highest bidder within 72 hours. Intelligence suggested that several terrorist organizations and rogue nations had already sent representatives to the auction. "The compound is protected by approximately 50 well-armed mercenaries," the Admiral explained. "It's built into a mountainside cave system that provides natural fortification. Satellite imagery shows multiple layers of security, including surface-to-air missiles, electronic surveillance systems, and motion detection devices." Thompson stepped forward. "What's our objective, Admiral?" "Total elimination of the threat," she replied without hesitation. "Secure or destroy the nuclear device, eliminate the arms dealers, and extract without leaving any evidence of American involvement. The Ukrainian government cannot officially acknowledge this operation, so you'll have no backup and no diplomatic protection if things go wrong." The weight of the mission settled over the team like a heavy blanket. They had faced dangerous situations before, but never with stakes this high. A single nuclear device in the wrong hands could kill hundreds of thousands of innocent people in any major city around the world. Admiral Hayes spread out detailed maps and surveillance photos on the table. "The compound is located here approximately 40 kilometers northeast of Kyiv. The area has been experiencing heavy snowfall, which will provide cover but also create additional challenges for movement and extraction." Danny studied the photographs carefully. "Admiral, these defensive positions look almost impenetrable. How are we supposed to get close enough to infiltrate?" "That's where Commander Thompson's expertise becomes crucial," the Admiral replied, glancing at Thompson with obvious respect. "He has specific knowledge that makes him uniquely qualified to lead this operation." Thompson remained silent, but Jake noticed him unconsciously touch his tattooed forearm again. It was becoming clear that their commander knew more about this mission than he was letting on, and somehow that innocent-looking dolphin was connected to it. The Admiral provided them with detailed intelligence reports, including information about the arms dealers involved. The leader was Viktor Kozlov, a former Soviet nuclear engineer who had disappeared after the fall of the Soviet Union. He had been presumed dead until intelligence services recently identified him as the mastermind behind several international weapons trafficking operations. "Kozlov is extremely paranoid and trusts no one," the Admiral explained. "He changes security protocols daily and uses multiple layers of coded communication. Our electronic surveillance has been unable to penetrate his network. We know the auction is happening, but we don't know the exact time or the specific security arrangements." Mike raised his hand. "Admiral, if we can't monitor their communications, how do we plan the assault? We're going in blind. Thompson spoke for the first time during the briefing. We won't be completely blind. I have assets in the area who can provide real-time intelligence. The team exchanged glances. Thompson had never mentioned having personal contacts in Ukraine before. Jake was beginning to suspect that their commander's background contained secrets they had never imagined. After the admiral left, Thompson gathered his team for additional planning. He spread out topographical maps and began explaining the infiltration route they would use. His knowledge of the terrain was remarkably detailed for someone who had supposedly never operated in that specific region. "Commander," Tommy asked, "how do you know so much about this area?" Thompson paused his briefing and looked at each team member individually. "Before we proceed, I need to tell you something about my past that I've kept classified. What I'm about to share cannot be repeated to anyone, ever." The room became deadly quiet. Thompson had never spoken about his personal history or previous assignments in detail. 25 years ago, I was a young sailor assigned to a joint NATO operation in the Black Sea, Thompson began. Our mission was to monitor Soviet naval activities during the final days of the Cold War. During that deployment, I formed relationships with local assets who provided intelligence about Soviet submarine movements and weapons storage facilities. Jake leaned forward, sensing that this revelation was connected to the tattoo somehow. One of those assets was a Ukrainian naval officer named Dmitry Volkov. He risked his life to provide us with critical intelligence about Soviet nuclear submarine patrols. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Dmitry helped secure several nuclear devices that could have fallen into the wrong hands. Thompson's voice took on a more personal tone. Dmitry saved my life during an operation that went wrong. Soviet forces had discovered our surveillance position, and we were trapped on a small island in the Black Sea. Dmitry used his submarine to extract us under heavy fire. 2 of my team members were killed, but Dmitry's courage saved the rest of us. The team listened intently as Thompson continued his story. After the extraction, Dmitry's cover was blown. He had to flee Ukraine with his family, but not before giving me something to remember him by. Thompson rolled up his sleeve and looked at his tattoo. Dmitry's 8-year-old daughter drew this picture for me before they disappeared. She said the dolphin would protect me in the water, just like dolphins protected sailors in old stories her grandfather told her. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The childish drawing suddenly took on profound meaning. The family adopted new identities and settled in Canada, Thompson explained. Dmitry became a fishing boat captain, and his daughter grew up to become a marine biologist. We've stayed in contact through secure channels all these years. Danny was the first to speak. "Commander, are you saying this Dmitry might be able to help us with the current mission?" "More than that," Thompson replied. 3 months ago, Dmitry contacted me through our emergency communication protocol. He had discovered that Viktor Kozlov was operating in the same region where we had worked together decades ago. Dmitry has been monitoring Kozlov's activities and gathering intelligence. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. Thompson's mysterious knowledge of the Ukrainian terrain, his confidence about having assets in the area, and the significance of his tattoo all made sense now. Dmitry still has contacts within the former Soviet military network, Thompson continued. Some of these people have been forced to work for Kozlov, but they're secretly providing information to Dmitry. That's how we know about the nuclear device auction. Mike shook his head in amazement. "So your tattoo isn't just a cute drawing. It's a symbol of this connection to your Ukrainian contact." "It's more than that," Thompson said. "It's a promise I made to a little girl who trusted me to protect her father. And it's a reminder that sometimes the most important relationships in intelligence work come from the most unexpected places." The team spent the next several hours studying updated intelligence that had come through Dmitry's network. They learned that the auction would take place in exactly 60 hours, giving them a narrow window for infiltration and assault. The compound's security was even more sophisticated than initial reports had indicated, with thermal imaging systems and automated defensive weapons. As they planned their approach, Thompson received an encrypted message on a secure device. After reading it, his expression became grave. "What is it, Commander?" Alex asked. "Dmitri has discovered that one of the potential buyers at the auction is a representative from a terrorist cell that has been planning attacks on American cities. If they acquire this nuclear device, they intend to smuggle it into the United States within 2 weeks." The urgency of their mission had just increased dramatically. They weren't just preventing an arms deal, they were potentially saving thousands of American lives. Thompson looked at his tattoo one more time, then addressed his team with the intensity they had come to expect before their most dangerous operations. "Gentlemen, we leave for Ukraine in 18 hours. This mission will test everything we've learned and everything we believe about ourselves. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the risks are beyond anything we've faced before." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over them. "I need to know that each of you is prepared to trust me completely, even when you don't understand my decisions. There may be moments during this operation when my actions seem questionable, or when I appear to be taking unnecessary risks. I need your word that you'll follow my lead without hesitation." Each team member nodded solemnly. They had trusted Thompson with their lives countless times before, and they weren't about to stop now. "Jake, you'll be responsible for overwatch and long-range elimination of targets. Danny, you'll handle all explosive devices and breach operations. Tommy, you'll maintain communications with our extraction team and monitor enemy radio traffic. Mike, you'll provide medical support and backup for any team member who gets wounded. Alex, you'll coordinate weapons distribution and provide covering fire during the assault." As the briefing concluded, Thompson gathered his personal equipment, including a special communication device that would allow him to contact Dmitri once they reached Ukraine. The device was old and seemed incompatible with their modern military technology, but Thompson explained that it used frequencies and encryption methods that Dmitri would recognize. That evening, as the team made final preparations for departure, Jake approached Thompson privately. "Commander, I have to ask, does Dmitri know about this mission?" Thompson nodded. "He's the one who originally alerted us to Kozlov's activities. This entire operation exists because a Ukrainian fishing boat captain remembered an old debt to an American sailor." Jake looked at Thompson's tattoo with new respect. "And his daughter's drawing has been watching over you all these years." "It's kept me alive through more close calls than I can count," Thompson replied. "Tomorrow we'll find out if it can help me save others." The cold Ukrainian wind cut through their tactical gear as Thompson's team crouched behind a rocky ridge, studying the heavily fortified compound through night vision scopes. Snow had been falling steadily for 3 hours, creating perfect cover for their approach, but also making movement treacherous on the icy mountain terrain. The compound looked exactly as the intelligence reports had described, a modern fortress built into the natural cave system of the mountainside. Floodlights swept the perimeter in systematic patterns, while armed guards patrolled between concrete barriers topped with razor wire. Electronic sensors created an invisible web of security that would detect any conventional infiltration attempt. Thompson checked his vintage communication device and waited for contact from Dmitri. According to their plan, the Ukrainian would signal when the arms dealers began their final security preparations for the auction. That would be their window of opportunity, when most of the guards would be focused on internal security rather than external threats. Jake adjusted his sniper rifle and identified 7 targets within his range. "Commander, I count 23 hostiles visible on the perimeter. If there are 50 total as intelligence suggested, that means more than half are inside the compound." "Confirmed," Danny whispered, studying the defensive positions through his scope. "I see at least 4 heavy machine gun positions and what looks like a surface-to-air missile battery on the main platform. The encrypted communication device suddenly crackled to life with a series of coded beeps. Thompson listened carefully, then translated for his team. Dimitri says the auction is scheduled to begin in 90 minutes. Most of the buyers have already arrived, and they're consolidating security in the main chamber. This is our chance. Tommy monitored radio traffic through his electronic surveillance equipment. Commander, I'm picking up increased chatter in Russian and Ukrainian. It sounds like they're discussing final positioning for the auction. Someone just mentioned moving the package to the display room. Thompson felt a familiar weight in his chest, the same feeling he had experienced during their first mission with Dimitri 25 years ago. Lives hung in the balance, and success depended on trusting people who existed in the shadows of international espionage. The communication device beeped again, this time with a different pattern. Thompson's expression became tense as he decoded the message. Dimitri says one of the buyers is suspicious about security. Someone named Hassan al-Rashid is demanding additional defensive measures. They're adding more guards to the perimeter. Mike checked his medical supplies one final time. Commander, if they increase security now, our extraction route could be compromised. We proceed as planned, Thompson decided. Dimitri has never given me faulty intelligence. If he says we can get in, then we get in. Alex distributed specialized ammunition designed to penetrate the compound's armored barriers. What's our signal for assault commencement? Thompson touched his tattooed forearm, a gesture that had become unconscious over the years. When Dimitri confirms the nuclear device is in the display room, we move. Not a second before. As they waited in the freezing cold, Jake found himself thinking about the story Thompson had told them. Somewhere in this hostile terrain, a former Soviet naval officer was risking his life to help them, motivated by a friendship forged decades ago and symbolized by a child's drawing of a smiling dolphin. The communication device came alive with urgent beeping. Thompson's face went pale as he translated the message. Dimitri says Kozlov has discovered a security breach. They're moving the auction up by 30 minutes and transferring the nuclear device to a secure transport vehicle for immediate departure. Danny swore under his breath. If that device leaves the compound in a vehicle, we'll never catch it in this terrain. We go now, Thompson ordered, standing up despite the increased risk. This is our only shot. The team moved with practiced precision down the snowy slope toward the compound. Jake provided overwatch from his elevated position, picking off perimeter guards with suppressed shots. Danny led the advance team, using specialized charges to create silent breaches in the defensive barriers. As they approached the main entrance, Thompson's communication device received another urgent message. This one was longer and more complex than the others. Thompson stopped moving as he decoded it, causing the entire team to take defensive positions behind concrete barriers. "What is it, Commander?" Tommy whispered. Thompson's voice was strained when he replied. "Dimitri says Kozlov has identified him as the source of the intelligence leak. They've captured him and are holding him in the compound." Dimitri managed to send one final message before they took his communication device. The team realized they now faced an impossible choice: complete their mission to secure the nuclear device or risk everything to save Thompson's friend and intelligence asset. Either decision could result in catastrophic consequences. "Commander," Alex said quietly, "we can't rescue Dimitri and secure the nuclear device. The compound is too heavily defended for a two-objective mission." Thompson stared at his tattoo, remembering the 8-year-old girl who had drawn it with such innocence and hope. He thought about the promise he had made to protect her father, and the debt of gratitude he owed to the man who had saved his life. "Check your equipment," he ordered. "We're going after both objectives." Jake's voice came through their communication system from his overwatch position. "Commander, I'm seeing movement around a black SUV near the compound's rear exit. Multiple hostiles are loading something heavy into the vehicle." "That's our nuclear device," Thompson realized. "They're moving it ahead of schedule." Through his scope, Jake could see figures moving in the compound's main building. I count at least 12 hostiles in the central structure. Commander, if Dmitri is being held there, this is going to be a bloodbath. Thompson made a decision that surprised everyone. Instead of ordering the assault, he activated his communication device and began transmitting a specific sequence of coded signals. The pattern was complex and seemed to follow a rhythm that none of the team members recognized. "Commander, what are you doing?" Mike asked urgently. "Dmitri taught me an emergency protocol 25 years ago," Thompson explained while continuing to transmit. "If either of us was ever captured, the other would use this signal to identify himself to any Allied assets in the area." The team waited in tense silence as Thompson repeated the signal pattern 3 times. Finally, the device received a response, a single, long beep followed by 3 short ones. Thompson smiled grimly. Dmitri's fishing network includes more than just his own boat. There are other Ukrainian patriots in this area who have been waiting for years to strike back at arms dealers and war profiteers. As if summoned by magic, explosions began erupting around the compound's eastern perimeter. The team watched in amazement as coordinated attacks struck the surface-to-air missiles and several guard positions simultaneously. "That's our cue," Thompson announced. "Danny, breach the main entrance. Jake, take out any hostiles who try to reach the vehicle. Tommy, coordinate with whatever friendly forces just revealed themselves. Mike and Alex with me into the main building." The assault unfolded with clockwork precision. Danny's explosive charges created multiple entry points, causing confusion among the defenders. Jake systematically eliminated guards who tried to escape with the nuclear device. Tommy established communication with Dmitri's hidden allies, who provided real-time intelligence about hostile movements inside the compound. Thompson led Mike and Alex through the main building's corridors, following intelligence from Dmitri's network about the layout and prisoner location. They encountered heavy resistance from Kozlov's mercenaries, but their superior training and coordination allowed them to advance steadily toward the central chamber. In a fortified room deep within the compound, they found Dmitri tied to a chair, bloodied but conscious. Standing over him was Viktor Kozlov himself, a thin man in an expensive suit who seemed remarkably calm despite the chaos erupting around his fortress. "American Navy SEALs," Kozlov said in accented English. "I wondered when you would arrive. Your friend here has been most entertaining, but not very talkative about your operational plans." Thompson kept his weapon trained on Kozlov, while Mike freed Dmitri from his restraints. The Ukrainian looked up at Thompson and smiled weakly, speaking in heavily accented English. "Marcus, you still have tattoo from my little Anna?" Dmitri asked, referring to his daughter by her childhood nickname. Thompson rolled up his sleeve, revealing the cartoon dolphin. "Never removed it, old friend. It's kept me alive all these years." Kozlov laughed harshly. "How touching. A reunion between old comrades. Unfortunately, you're too late. My nuclear device is already leaving the compound in an armored vehicle that your forces cannot stop." Alex's voice came through their communication system. "Commander, the SUV is moving toward the mountain pass. Jake has a shot at the driver. But if that thing crashes on the mountainside, we could have a nuclear incident." Thompson made a split-second decision. "Negative on the shot. Danny, can you intercept the vehicle with explosives?" "Not without risking nuclear contamination," Danny replied through the radio. "That mountain pass drops 500 feet into a valley below." Dmitri struggled to his feet, supported by Mike's strong arms. Despite his injuries, the old Ukrainian's eyes were sharp and focused. "Marcus, there is another way. The road they take has only one route through the mountains. My people know these roads since childhood." Thompson understood immediately. "Your fishing network has people positioned along the escape route." "Better than that." Dmitri smiled through his pain. "My Anna, she is here. Dr. Anna Volkov. Marine biologist who studies migration patterns in Black Sea. She knows every path through these mountains." The communication device crackled with a new voice, speaking in perfect English with only a slight accent. "Father, Uncle Marcus, this is Anna. I am positioned 2 kilometers ahead of the target vehicle with climbing equipment and ice axes. These mountains are my laboratory." Thompson felt his throat tighten with emotion. The 8-year-old girl who had drawn his protective tattoo was now a grown woman, ready to risk her life to help complete their mission. "Anna, it's too dangerous," Thompson said into the device. "That vehicle contains a nuclear weapon." "Uncle Marcus," Anna's voice was steady and determined, "you have carried my drawing for 25 years. Now let me protect you the way dolphins protected ancient sailors." Through their tactical communications, the team could hear Anna coordinating with local mountaineers who had been secretly positioned along the escape route. Using their knowledge of the terrain and specialized climbing equipment, they triggered a controlled avalanche that blocked the mountain pass without damaging the vehicle or its dangerous cargo. The SUV carrying the nuclear device was trapped between the avalanche and Thompson's advancing SEAL team. Kozlov's remaining mercenaries surrendered rather than face certain death in the frozen mountain wilderness. As dawn broke over the Ukrainian mountains, Thompson's team had successfully secured the nuclear device, captured Viktor Kozlov, and rescued Dmitry. More importantly, they had prevented a catastrophic terrorist attack that could have killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people. During the extraction helicopter ride back to base, Thompson sat next to Dmitry, both men exhausted but relieved. The old Ukrainian looked at Thompson's tattoo one more time. "My Anna, she has become strong woman, yes? Like dolphins, she protects her family and friends." Thompson nodded, thinking about the courage Anna had shown during the mission. "She's exactly what you hoped she would become when she drew this picture." Dmitry smiled and closed his eyes. "Secret of the tattoo was never the drawing. Secret was the promise you made to little girl who trusted you, some promises we keep for lifetime." Back at the base, Admiral Hayes personally debriefed the team. As Thompson explained how Dmitry's network had been crucial to the mission's success, she listened with obvious appreciation for the complexity of international intelligence relationships. "Commander Thompson," the Admiral said, "your unconventional assets and methods saved American lives today. This tattoo of yours, it represents something more valuable than any official military decoration." Thompson looked at the cartoon dolphin on his forearm, no longer embarrassed by its childish appearance. "Sometimes the most important connections in our lives come from the most unexpected places, Admiral, and sometimes a promise to a child becomes the foundation for saving the world." The team never joked about Thompson's tattoo again. They understood now that it represented honor, loyalty, and the kind of international friendships that made their dangerous work possible. Jake often said that their commander's dolphin was the most meaningful military insignia he had ever seen. Years later, when team members told the story to their own children, they always emphasized that real strength sometimes comes from protecting innocence, and that the most powerful warriors are those who remember their promises to the people who trust them most. The cartoon dolphin continued to smile from Thompson's forearm, a permanent reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple across decades and continents to change the world in ways we never imagined.